She's from Australia. Probiotic, mucilage, pectin, peptoid. You guys are having too much coffee. You should have a lot of energy. Like Saddi Gali and some Dhurandhar reel songs or whatever they're serving you over here definitely is not coffee. Welcome back to Lens Dynamic Coffee Sessions. So, finally back. Uh, Took me some time to get off the coffee high. So, I've put out a couple of videos. There was one prep video, obviously, that was done the night before, then the whole day of attending the event. And I put whatever I could record, I recorded that and put it out, and hope it's okay, like as a coverage of the event. Uh, so there is so much to kind of process from the event. I've also written a Medium blog, so I'll provide a link for that. But in this video, I wanted to basically have coffee and also share some things which I have not yet. Like generally, I attend the event and share. So I also have a comics channel, Panel Days, and it's interesting how I've noticed some similarity between every convention, and that is similar for tech conventions also. So I thought I'll share them. Not that it makes a difference, but yeah, some observations from the IICF, and I will unbox this whatever coffees I got and share some kind of experiences. I have not had coffee today, so I'll brew two coffees from Riverside Coffee, two brews from there, and then share my thoughts. And then there is some kind of humor. I hope you find that funny. But yeah, let's start with this unboxing. So to start with, the very first booth that I went to stall early in the morning was Bria. So it was an assortment of coffee growers and sellers from Cheveroy Hills, Yerkard, and they also had like spices and coffee. So this was not your very, like, how would you say, fancy coffees. These were like more aimed at, I think, B2B. So it was like a mix for filter coffee for so they had a set. One of them had a set like box with filter coffee and filter coffee powder, and they had a lot of blends like Arabica and Robusta, like your standard South Indian filter coffee makes. So they were not very forthcoming in terms of presenting or talking, but I did speak to some of them, and it was a nice conversation. And there were some brands. I will be sharing the links of all the brands that I spoke to, whichever websites I could find. But this was like Pilbrew. Yeah, so this was Highlands, Yerkard, Pilbrew, and Ria Kapi, and few more people were there. But I spoke to Ria Kapi and I got this pour over sample, easy pour. So I'll try this sometime. Then I went to Riverside Coor. So the Roasters Village section was really nice, like spaced out and very aesthetically placed, like stalls. It was not that boring structure of stalls. Like it was more like you were feeling like an outdoor event, like that artificial grass and booths were kind of angled. So you will see, you'll be able to see in the walking tour video that I have shared. But I went to this place, Coorg Riverside Coffee, and they were looking like reasonably free. So I attacked them, and then I started speaking to them. And it didn't need to talk much. Like even when you approach any stall, you can sense the energy, whether they are willing to talk to you or not. So these were the two coffees I picked from there. I like their concept of having like these 100 gram. So this was like a 100 gram pack, and this was like a 150 gram pack. There is a sister estate that they have, and they also sell under this coffees of Cool. So today we'll be brewing these two coffees. So I thought it'll be nice. One is medium and one is a roast light medium. So I was checking Riverside website, and they have these things called King, Queen, Ace, and they say that these are like really small samples or coffee packs that they sell, and these are honey process. So we'll talk about honey processing, wash processing, and natural processing, which I learned in this event. But coming back to the unbox, this is Badra coffee. So this was mainly this is Mocha Magic Family Reserve. It's a medium dark roast. So I'll try to brew it someday with some milk. Um, uh, blend it with milk rather. This is something that I won. They had a contest where, so I also saw many new things this time. So there was this kind of aroma kind of bottle where they pump some air out, and it looks like a mini gramophone. It's really funny. I first thought it's a brewing equipment, but they do this like a smell test. So they had this test like two non-coffee things, one coffee thing. So I think it was pretty basic. Anyone can get that. You don't need to be coffee connoisseur to sort of do the smell test. So they were giving these samples out. So it was quite nice. That their entire booth was very nice. They had a bean wise kind of coffee academy, and I also had there was a lady there. I also had like cascara tea there, and also coffee flower or coffee bloom tea. So that was a nice kind of breather from all the coffee. And then I visited Blue Tokai drop thing. I initially didn't want to have a drop like this product because I'm not really fond of decoctions. Uh, I mean, I brew coffee every day, but I think if they are doing something new, then I think it's not bad to try it out. So I took an assortment one, and there is one, two, three, four, five flavors in it. So I'll try to brew this, and the way I'll do it is since there is two each of each flavor, I'll try to do experiments like hot and cold of each, and I'll also try to write down my notes. So I'll be sharing those with you. So this looks interesting when you have less time to brew, like drop. Nothing that new. I think many brands are doing this, but Blue Tokai doing it and the kind of flavors that they have chosen, that should be interesting. It has Americano, chili, cinnamon mocha, jaggery, sea salt mocha, and signature. So I was speaking to Osho, friendly neighborhood coffee guy. He was telling me some tips around that. So let's do a separate video on drop, and I'll talk more about this. And then there are these cute kind of prints I picked from few stalls. Now, obviously, when you are at an event like this, it's not possible to sort of buy or pick up coffee from everywhere. So, if you're just going that for there for one day, that is, as as I did. So, I think it was. I tried to keep it balanced in terms of not going too crazy. So I think that ways it was good. So overall, it was a very balanced day. Obviously, there's few things that I wished I could have done more, like speak to more people. But whatever I did, I'm happy with that. So let's get started with the coffee brewing. I'll meet you when the coffee is brewed now. I've showed you too many pour overs. So yeah, let's do that. So the coffee is brewed. We have two nice cups here. This is King from Riverside, and this is Sri Ram Estate, and this is their medium roast. This processing natural varietal Chandragiri, and highlight is it's near a forest, and it's a medium roast, and this one should be light to medium, and I can see a slight change in the color as well. So I'm going to try few different things that I learned now onwards. I'm going to be more careful about my pours. So I know I don't have that professional or the proper pour over kettle. So I'll try to make that like a very thin kind of drop. And other thing I'll try is be conscious while I'm doing the pour over. So you have to do it with your complete mind into it, and uh, I know we are like home brewers or amateur in that sense, so I will not be able to have all the technique or the different factors right, like the exact weight, grind, the temperature. I'll try to do whatever I can within my resources or means. So there's different things that I found out. I'll just share. Let me just try this coffee. So, for my thoughts on these two coffees, this one is like a special or limited edition thing from Riverside. So, they have three called King, Ace, and Queen: black honey, red honey, and golden honey. This is sort of the black honey thing. So, now a bit about this honey processing is that, like, when you leave the mucilage on the coffee bean and let it out to dry, that's called the honey drying method. It's known to be more eco-friendly because it does not use the water, as in the case of washed. And the fruit mucilage left on the bean, it let it dry slowly in shade. So with the honey processing kind of honey drying method, it produces a cup with high sweetness, balanced acidity, syrupy, full-bodied mouthfeel with notes of caramel or dried fruit. And they say that there is four types of colors of honey in terms of mucilage. So there's white honey, least amount, and then you go from white to yellow to red to black honey. This one is black honey. So most mucilage is left, slowest drying time, considered the most complex. So definitely it's very complex. In the first sip, due to the high heat or the high temperature, I could not get the complexity, but let me try more. So in the first sip, I was not getting that acidity, but now I'm getting that. So it has a very kind of earthy, herbal, chocolatey kind of feel to it. There is some brightness, but it's not like the berry or the orange bright. The brightness is more on the range of plum and jackfruit. So I'm looking at the page of King Black Honey Coffee, and it says that tasting notes are of dark chocolate, molasses, ripe plum, and earthy spice. So I'm getting like some of them in these few sips, and it's known to be the most the boldest and most complex of the trio in King, Ace, and Queen. So this labor-intensive black honey process allows the beans to ferment deeply in their own natural sugars, resulting in heavy body and intense syrupy sweetness. So I think it's a very like good find that I had at this coffee festival. So I think this comes in the positives of the coffee festival, like without conversation or much of the coffee snobbery. uh, I just walked into a booth and I discovered and I spoke to someone from the farm who was not using many fancy words. He just brewed the coffee, and I just walked away with that. So I think that is a good kind of discovery. Now, coming to the next coffee, Sri Ram Estate, though it says medium, I'm kind of getting a very complimentary tasting experience in both these coffees. Um, this is also very complex. So, this is Sri Ram Estate in Thora, and it says that it sits at 900 feet and naturally processed Chandragiri coffee. So, Chandragiri coffee, I saw the name mentioned at quite a few stalls. So it's grown without any chemicals. It's just rain-fed soil, wild orange trees, and whole lot of intention. So I'm getting that kind of a berry acidity in this. Yes, so you know the kind of berry sweetness that you get, like the hint of bitterness when you eat some berries. I'm getting that in this. Not the overtly sweet kind, something that you eat in like berry chocolates. Like if you eat a dark chocolate with like a cranberry dark chocolate, this is what I'm getting in this. So now let me try them one by one. So purely in terms of preference, I think this one just might have the slight edge above this. This is more like a balanced one, like a hint of darkness. But I don't know. I'm becoming more of a coffee snob now. But I'm just exploring this whole spectrum of uh, acidity and the sourness in coffees and this fermentation and the this whole thing about. So I was at the brew bar, and the brew bar is a crazy place. There are these caffeinated heads that walk around dropping terms like probiotic, mucilage, pectin, peptoid. Everything the home brewers or the coffee experts talk about is the processing, and they have all these technical terms. And for some reason, they thought that everyone around is equally knowledgeable like them, which I was not. But I am known to like put on an act or two to know things where I don't know anything. I just nodded, and then the person went like, coffee has natural saccharine and then more elements that lend to the character. It make it more complex. So I got it like, he's explaining some scientific process or some Walter White thing. But yeah, that's what happens at the brew bar. So nice new experience for me. Also came to see a lot of things that happen in these coffee inner circles. So that was fine. I've discussed the Riverdale coffees, honey dried, washed, and anaerobic, and I also found out that V60 is considered pretty basic now. Maybe it was all these fancy coffee circles, but there is like more equipments that are there. So there was this whole sea of equipments over there, brewing tools, brewing equipments, and there's something called a binocular now, which is exactly what it sounds like, but think of it as a coffee brewing device. So there is like two filters or like channels through which you brew the coffee, and it's essentially made to pour like two different coffees. So when you get coffee in the kind of collecting device, it's like a blend. So I am not there yet, probably a few years from now, but yeah, that does exist. So do look up binocular coffee brewing. You'll get different search results, but don't worry, you'll have fun. So yeah, coming to the convention patterns, like I've been to comic cons and I've been to this coffee con, if you will, and in both of these, I found out that somehow the commercial elements kind of overshadow the purists, or in comic cons, obviously it's like world famous now that it's not about comics. So there's all sort of things but comics. Someone who wants to talk about comics, but then it's like a dichotomy also, because there are people uh, who you want to discuss comic with, but they are like inaccessible or unapproachable. And I felt a similar way with this coffee thing also, because I was just a coffee enthusiast who wanted to have conversations around coffee. But then there was this whole gang of like coffee experts who uh, like seem unapproachable or inaccessible. I don't know. I'm judging them too prematurely, but that's what I felt more times than one. But yeah, they were also human. I think they did talk, and some of them did respond to my questions. So yeah, but there is a bit of snobbery attached to some of these conventions. There's like different category of people you meet. There is people who have no clue, then people who have some clue, then people who want to earn money of this whole hobby, and then there's DJs also. Like in none of these events are complete about like Saddi Gali and some Dhurandhar reel songs, or I don't know. I feel like having an out of body experience when I see these things happening, but you just can't help it. So there was this MC, or I don't know, yeah, MC. She was there at Comic Con. She was there at the Audible stall, and she just screamed her lungs out all the time. I mean, no disrespect to her. That's her job, and I probably loves doing that. But she was there at well as well. There was this coffee in good spirits competition, and she was like trying to motivate the contestants, I guess, but they ended up scaring them more. The barista from Blue Tokai, he was making a cocktail like based out of guava and Jameson and coffee, of course, and she's like asking him way too many questions. And then suddenly everyone breaks into a dance or something, like all the judges are dancing. And I don't know if it was, I've had too much coffee. It was probably just 4 or 5 samples till then, but yeah, that did happen. So, yes, yeah. So I think all these conventions, you need to have all these commercial elements. The main sponsor was Nescafe, hee hee. So yeah. Then this whole B2B, B2C, you need to understand like which stall is B2B. Some of them were kind enough to let me know that they were B2B, but they were not throwing me out just as yet. But yeah, it's good to know. I think coffee conventions are 80%, 70 to 80% B2B. So only a few hyper coffee enthusiasts like me actually land up at those events. And then this coffee snobbery thing is also a bit relative because someone might look at this channel and like, look at this guy, this middle-aged dude. He just keeps talking about coffee all the time, and all I do is like spend 5 minutes into making a coffee, or probably 2 minutes, and look at him. He speaks about coffee for 1 hour. He dedicates like most of his life to coffee. And then I look at these home brewers and I'm like, look at these people. They spend so much money and time to this whole thing. And I was just having all these thoughts and I was judging them and just looking at them and, name dropping and talking like Ethiopian coffee, like some treasure. Uh, and then I was thinking that it's all relative. Like the way I was looking at them and judging them, probably someone else looks at me and judges me. Then coming to the famous freeloader culture, I don't want to make it an Indian or a cultural thing, but there are these freeloaders all around. There were these people who were very obnoxious, for the lack of a better word. They were just joining every place they could to get something free. So there were a lot of these stalls of brands that sell like syrups and products that can go uh, with coffee, and they were targeted at cafes and baristas. And then there was just random people queuing up to get like a small glass of cranberry cooler or something. Like, why would you do that? I literally saw a guy who was standing, and then he just jumps the queue, and then he drags four of his other bros with him, and then he's pretending to do a conversation with the lady like from that brand, and she's like telling him about the whole thing, like how baristas can use these syrups in their drinks and so on, and he's like nodding his head. He's like, can I get the free sample now? So this is the most common sight I saw at the convention. Like almost everyone at the stall was doing this grinding thing, this coffee grinding thing. So there was this whole like subculture around coffee equipments and especially grinders. And everyone looks at you like oddly when you say like, "Can I get this coffee ground or coffee grind or whatever?" Because you're supposed to just walk out with coffee beans, right? You're at a coffee convention. So yeah, another thing where I felt like a little belittled, but I'm used to it by now. Then the typical MC culture, like make some noise. We're at a coffee convention, and somehow they had this, snide comment around like, "You guys are having too much coffee. You should have a lot of energy." And then I was like a little bewildered by that because like coffee doesn't always work in that way, right? You have coffee, so by that logic someone should start flying at like the 10th or 11th coffee, which is not the case. Like your system processes coffee differently. And I actually wanted to go at the stage and fight with him and take the mic away and probably get viral and get more subscribers that way. But it was really funny. Like it was like a stereotypical way of looking at coffee. It's like saying that comics are for kids. And even the country singer Sheridan Reyes, he also said the same thing. Like, I can't believe you guys are at a coffee convention. Whatever they're serving you over here definitely is not coffee. And that was like offensive on so many levels. Like, someone can just have coffee high and just enjoy the music and not make some noise. And of course, no event in India is completed without like those snobbish NRIs. Nothing against NRIs, but I always end up seeing some of them like name dropping that they were an NRI or they are an NRI. So there was at this MilkLab booth, which was like the place to get free drinks, and Australia's biggest brand, MilkLab, was there, and some guy dragged his wife there, and he's like, "She's from Australia, or she lives in Australia." And she's like, "Yeah, I lived in Australia, mate." And then the guy who's like serving those free drinks, he has like absolutely blank expression. He's like, "Okay, nice. Like, can you move on? Like, make space for the 300 people behind you." And then she's like, "I've already had this. My favorite is coconut milk." And then he's like, "No, we don't. We've run out of coconut milk. Do you want almond or oat?" He's like, "I've had it before, but I'll again have it." Enough ranting. Just some suggestions, but just now I remembered one more rant. So there was this big booth of Harley Estate. They also sell like classic coffee, which I remembered as Supreme Coffee for some reason. There was this big bunch of uncles there, or I don't know, young people. Maybe they were like estate owners or something, but they had occupied like 10-15% of the whole real estate of the booth, and they were all talking about like cycling in Europe for some reason. So it was this typical snobbish, like name dropping, high income group society talk or something. They were like, I have cycled in the Alps, and then the other guy is like, I carry my coffee equipments in the forest trails or something. And I was trying to look at them, and not like I have a big recording equipment or something, but I was still like staring at them and they were not understanding. And I think some of my videos also had that. And I'll probably try to put that somewhere. There's one guy talking about like how he needs motivation to go cycling. And I was like, I need some motivation to walk up to you and say that you're disturbing everyone else at a coffee convention. So coming to some feedback for this event, so the lack of chair is not that serious as a Comic Con event, but still you could have like some more chairs or some lounge areas where people could just sit. Some better digital displays or simple flyer also. Digital display would save paper, of course. That will help people guide through the confusion of what is free, what is not, and what they can do at the event. So, yeah, I think that was missing. Then this whole thing about eco-friendliness, I'll not go too much into it, but there were these people with this husky cups hanging from their neck, and they were staring at you if you're using paper cups. So, I mean, I don't get the point. Like, you are wasting so much paper, right, in all those paper cups. So why did you even sign up for it if you wanted to wax eloquent about being eco-friendly? uh, I was like being judged for drinking a paper cup from which they were serving coffee, like 10 ml of coffee to me. So I was not sure what I should do. I mean, if they had told me, I could have carried my own cups or bottles or whatever. But yeah, no one tells about these things. Also, I thought what would have helped is they could have put these used coffee like bins at every stall. So there was a lot of coffee that was being brewed, right? So they could have put those coffee grounds in those packs, and maybe the organizers could have found a way to repackage it so that people could take it as compost for their plants. See, I'm also eco-friendly. So yeah, that was my wrap for IICF. I'm not sure if I will visit in the next edition or so. I think it's towards the end of February 2027. But certainly a lot of good takeaways from this event. Some paid and some free coffee and a lot of knowledge. I'll be so you can expect as someone who watches this channel to for me to give you more gyan about this whole coffee thing. Um, and probably get into more of direct coffee buying from estates. I definitely want to try more coffee from Koraput. I have some of their coffees bookmarked, and I will not be buying too many expensive coffees. I'll stick to my budget, probably less than that. So I'll explore some more in the Coorg, Chikmagalur, as usual, and also try to get some coffees from Tamil Nadu, and I'll try Riverdale Estate. I've heard good things about it. I'll try some of Atypical Coffee. I'll try to visit some more of these specialty cafes in Bangalore and cut down a bit on my Starbucks visits. I have not been to Benki coffee place in Jayanagar, and I certainly one place that I should visit. I'll try out the Nerlu Cafe. The new one has opened in HSR layout, and that's about it. I'm not saying that I'll change as a, I'll suddenly transform into a home brewer and start name dropping things at the next coffee conventions brew bar. I'm not there yet. Probably I won't be there yet in a couple of years too. But yeah, it was certainly a little eye opener. My eye is like 20% open right now because it's close to midnight. But yeah, overall it was not bad. IICF. Cheers.
Listen, all I need is a push. If I have you and Ajay really saying, come Rakesh, join us, I will join it. My challenge is the push. When you have an intro trailer, then why don't you do it?